Hey, how you doing? I'm Pedge Tattoos, former mob associate, Serbian, Banano, and Gambino. And I'm chatting with Staxx. I'm only an associate. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a made guy. I could never be made. Yeah, I could have my own crew. I could be as like Joe Watts. Joe Watts was Gotti's, man, but he was not Italian. He could never get a button, could never be made in that family, but he was respected as like he was.
Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Tattoo Pedge.
Like straight, I was like, it ain't gonna happen. I said, this is a one-time deal because you guys are in a spot. I said, never ever look for my crew, for me. And if you deal with my crew, deal who the guy is. Let me know so I can kick him out, throw him a beat and kick him out. I was like, because this ain't happening again. This is my show. And I said, this is it. I said, and I put my hand out to shake. He kind of like flimsily shook my hand, but squeezed my arm. That was the last run-in I ever had. I seen him one other time, but I tried to like hightail out of where I was, like, because you leave a bad taste in somebody's mouth, and now you're coming in their neighborhood. That's like rubbing it in. I'm not like that. I'm not. I mean, I am in a way when I have to be, but with him, it's not something you want to play.
Yeah.
And everybody was telling me, "Oh my God, you got away with murder and this and that." For me, it was just honestly, it was another day. I'm not trying to brag and blow smoke, but yeah, for real, man. For me at that time, it was another day. I didn't care. I had God by the nutsack. It was me. I was doing me, and dude, I didn't care, man. We were going to Atlantic City, blowing 5, 10 G's in one night. Whatever our ill gains were, we're
Yeah.
blowing it. For real. Like I was talking to Punch, Stanimirovic, and I was telling him, man, what I would have did with all that money that I blew. Because I did the math. I used to go and hang out in strip bars. Because that's where you make your connections with these mob guys, and seedy people that are like selling coke, big quantity, whatever you need. That's the place to be. So I would go in on a Thursday night, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night. Those 3 nights, man, if I didn't buy half the bar drinks and send bottles and whatever, I'd walk out of there after a few lap dances and whatnot. I'd be out like $1,500, $2,500. Now that's 3 days of that. And then figure out what about the rest of the week that I'm going to cafes and just having espressos everywhere and playing cards at 20 a hand or 100 a hand, just to mingle, just waiting for that one deal.
And back then, the money difference is a lot.
Yeah, I mean, let's say back then it was 25 a night. That would be like $7,000 today. Because I was just, throwing money on the girls. I'd go up to my boy, put 100 singles, put a stack in front of him, be like, yo, do what you got to do. It was all that schmooze in life. And I loved it because it was, you'd get it back too. Like I'd go somewhere and guys would be like, here comes Pedge, and it would just be me and 2 guys, and like I get bombarded with like shots and this and that, and they'd be like, "Oh, you gotta open tab with us all night. You got nothing to worry about. Just wave like this, and we'll send you the drinks." It was insane. It was insane. But if something was to pop off, like one time something popped off in a strip bar, and I saw one crowd come in that I knew this other crowd didn't like, opposing families, like some beef was in the street. So now I have to make my decision. Who do I jump for? Because I know both sides. So I'm like, well, this guy, he kind of jerked me on this deal and he jerked me on that. So I would just go whisper to the dude. I walk up and be like, yo, got your back. They're like, and they knew when I said I got their back, I'd be the first one swinging. I wouldn't wait. I'd be like, I kind of like got every exit in my head, every bottle of beer on the table. I know what I'm grabbing as a weapon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's insane. And that all stemmed from me being in Serbian bars and social clubs, because that's like the wild, wild west. When you go to these Serbian social clubs, you can walk in just expecting to have a drink. And by the end of the night, you're getting into a literal wild, wild west fist fight. Guns are coming out. People are shooting at each other. It's insane. So taking that and I bring it into the regular, I was ready. I was always ready. So that one incident, the guys came, like the looks were exchanged, and I went up and I'm like, hey, and they're like, oh, whose side you taking? I'm like, not for none, but I'm with them. They only got 6, you guys got 12. I said, I'm sorry, I'm for the underdog, you know? And they were like, why you got to do that? You know, you're going to be bad in our eye now. I'm like, no, I'm not. I go, you love me again tomorrow. I go, you're going to need something. You got to come to me. You know, I'm the go-to guy. And that's what I was known for, being the go-to guy. That was like, I loved it, you know? Like,
Yeah.
people call me up, hey, can you make this happen? And if I couldn't, Staxx, if I couldn't make it happen, I would make it happen just because my name was on the line. You know what I mean? So if I had to swallow and lose money on the deal, I don't care, because I opened my big mouth. If somebody said, Pedge, I need this, this, and this. Like one time they did a silver heist. They robbed some jeweler. He was I don't know if he was, I think he had silver at the house and he was bringing it to the shop or whatever. And they knew his routine. So he had something like 120 pounds of silver, you know, and like nuggets, ingots, 10 troy ounces, whatever. So I was supposed to be in on this heist, but they kind of like minused me out. But then they came to me because I had, Punch's dad doing the silver for me in the city. So
Yeah.
they were like, you're the guy. Like, can you make this? I was like, well, what do you got? Like, oh, 120 pounds of silver or something like that. I'm like, yeah. I go, let me see a brick. They gave me a little troy ounce thing, whatever. I took it and I was just like, okay. So I go, I'm getting like 15% because I'm doing all the hard work and I'm going to the fence. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'd go and see Punch's dad and I'd be like, hey, I used to call him Uncle Vojislav, So I'd be like, hey, Uncle Voyo. And I'd show him the thing. Oh, how much you got of this? And I'm like, 120 pounds. Wait a second. You guys robbed that jeweler in Queens? And I'm like,
'Cause
not
he
me.
knows him, right?
Yeah,
He's
he knew
connected.
because, yeah, these dudes, these guys that were doing these heists, they know those scores. Anything over whatever, like 15, 20,000 back then. The ears were open, their ears were wide open. So I was like, no, it wasn't me. It was these guys I knew. And this and that. He like, our boys, like meaning Serbian. I was like, yeah, some Serbian, some Italian. I go, a couple of young kids. One guy, Mark Terragrossa. He's done a few interviews as well. He was in the life. And so, he gave me a decent price. I negotiated, I got my cut, and this and that. And it is what it is. I mean, that's what I lived for, just making that happen. So
Yeah.
yeah, see, I got to smile when I say that, because it's like, that was my niche, like being there, schmoozing people, having dinner, hobnobbing, and then I can do it, just even, I mean, it doesn't have to be some crazy, like me doing like, a crazy heist or a robbery or whatever. As long as I knew, hey, look, I can make it happen. I can put the connection together. You just bless me. So give me a blessing and we're all good. I've hooked up so many people in like positions like where they just expanded and grew. Like I had a few weed spots at one time and then I got rid of them. And I just kind of like sold them off in a way like a franchise. Here, take over my spots. Give me this amount and you give me tax. And then after a year, you tax it every month, giving me tax and blessing me. That's your connection. I I throw my hands up. I'm not one to scumbag you and like rob you way down the line and be like, take it back or set you up. That wasn't me. A lot of guys in my crew did that to me, and it kind of
Can you tell
sucks.
me a story of any time that things went bad?
Okay, well, the one thing with the silver heist I was supposed to be in, I got taken out because it was 6 guys and they figured one less guy, that's 5, splitting it. They knew that they had well over like whatever, 80 something grand and silver or whatever it was, 60 something grand. So uh that was one incident. Then there was the one with the junior thing with the cars. They went behind my back and did that. That literally, like, I was just getting angry. Like, you know what? I'm not gonna involve anybody. I'm not gonna have a crew. let this guy run the crew. Let this guy do this. I'm going to do my own thing. So I started to niche myself where if I came up with a scam, I would tell nobody. I would do the scam. If it worked, I'd push forward. So I did cigarettes. I never told anybody. I was doing this thing with, I don't even know if I should say this, but let's just say I was doing something and there was a connect for guns and they would come in, and I'd be like, okay. And this one guy that was in that crew turned around and pulled the biggest, scumbag move and let me meet your guy. So I went to go meet this guy to schmooze him. Hey, I need this, I need that. Can you get me a couple of nines? Can you get me? Yeah, whatever you want. Give me like 3-4 days. I brought him. Biggest mistake I did because he went and undercut me. Went to him and says, I'll give you $50 more. I'll do this at 10 guns per. Back then 500 beans was 500 beans. It was
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. I kind of like didn't learn my lesson because this guy was really tight with me. He was like kind of the brother I never had, but that was all part of the ploy. It was just, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer type of deal. He tried to eventually whack me. Eventually. Yeah. Which, like I said on another show where I'm blessed with this intuition. I don't want to be like John Panisi and say, oh, my dead grandmother told me to get out the mob. Not going to do that. Okay. And I'm sorry for shitting on John Panisi, but that story is hysterical. So, other than that, I have an intuition. It was always like that good angel on the bad angel on the shoulder, but my stomach would just go like this. And I'd ask myself, should I do this? And I would hear a defiant no.
Because you
So
got a
one time,
conscience. You have
yeah,
a
so I
conscience.
one time went against it, and dude, I got caught with a stolen car. Like I just knew, like they were, come on, let's go. We're gonna go robbing tonight. And I was like, all right, let's go. But inside, I was like, no. The whole time, I was kind of like getting clammy, and I was like, something's not copacetic. Get on the highway, whee, it was like a sting operation. I come to think about it now, I think it's that dude that I just told you scumbag me on, the other stuff. I think
Yeah.
he set me up on that one because I took a fall for that. And he didn't like it because I was kind of like, what's the word? My criminal career was going without a hitch. I only got arrested once or twice, like peanuts,
Yeah.
Now after that, it was just like the dominoes were falling. So I was getting arrested more frequent now because now I'm on the radar.
Did you
So,
go to Rikers Island? What was your first
oh
time going to
Jesus, Rikers
Rikers
Island
Island?
is, dude. I've been to Rikers like 4 times, always because I can't make bail, and they send me from Queen's House to Rikers Island to the Tombs, and it's just insane. Like it at the time. I look Italian, you know, but I also look a little Puerto Rican. Now that I grew my beard out a little bit, everybody says I got that Carlitos Way look. So I can pass for Puerto Rican, and a lot of
They,
guys like.
they all think I'm Puerto Rican too
Yeah,
when I
so
go to
a lot of
prison.
guys when I got locked up, they're like, "Hey, tu Boricua?" And I'm like, "No." They're like, "Come on, coño, you for Boricua?" And I'm like, "No." Dominicano? I'm like, "No." I'm like, "I'm Serbian." They're like, "What?" So I make a joke. I go, "I'm Serbo-Rican." Like I have Puerto Rican, have Serbian. So I mean, they liked me. It was cool, but I'm gonna be honest. It was at that time. It was the Nietas and the Latin Kings were running shit. So white guys were sparse, few and far. You know what I mean? And being there, the longest I've been here was like a month, maybe 5 weeks till I can make bail. Because bail would get reduced every time you have to go to court.
Yeah.
If you got lucky, you got 2 to 3 court hearings in that month. Now, if they wanted 50 grand, it'd go down to 25. Then my lawyer would be like, come on, he's got nobody. He's got his sick mom at home, the whole schmeal. And my lawyer was great. He played golf with a lot of judges. He was a phenomenal lawyer, man. I remember one time I got hit with a gun charge. And he told me, he goes, the next time you get hit, he goes, I can make this go away. First time offense. You didn't know it wasn't your gun, the whole schmeal. He goes, the next time you're going to be stupid and carry a gun, because I'm going to teach you a trick. He goes, you're getting pulled over by the cops. You got a loaded gun on you. Take the bullet out of the chamber, empty the clip, take the bullet out of the chamber, throw the clip underneath, throw the gun in the back, or vice versa. Throw the clip in the back, gun underneath. He goes, it's a misdemeanor possession charge. You don't go to Rikers and do 12 months. I was like, what? Sure enough, I got into a confrontation with a guy, and this guy, he's going to do this. And I was like, oh, yeah? So he's talking like he's going to do a big thing. I was like, I just lost it. got my gun. It was like, doom, 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 started shooting at him. This guy drops dime on me. So I get in my car. I hightail it out of there. 10 blocks away, they put APB on my car. Boom. Dude, I just get, so I'm like, throw the thing, the bullet's there, throw the gun. Cops come out. They're like, oh, you're going to jail. You were shooting a gun. And I was like, I wasn't shooting no gun. They pick up my gun and the cop loads it. Now, lucky for me that where they did it was a Serbian social club. And I'm telling them in Serbian, did you see him load the gun? They're like, yeah, we saw him load the gun. I was like, now I got witnesses. I go, that's a misdemeanor. I had an unloaded gun. He goes, yeah, whatever. You're a lawyer now, Sure enough, I go to court. My lawyer comes up and says, we have the witnesses. We have this testimony. They will come in. You want to go to the trial? We go to trial. This is a misdemeanor. The judge agreed. He goes, it is a misdemeanor. Started to scold the police officer, the arresting officer. This guy looked at me like he had it out for me after that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I couldn't do dirt in my own neighborhood. I had to like go to the next neighborhood over, a different precinct. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. I mean, it's a funny story. I went through it, but it was scary at the time because every day could be the last time you spend it outside. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I've done some crazy shootouts, like where we had a problem with some Latin Kings in Bushwick, and it was something gone bad with one of the guys, and they were just like, like that scene from The Town where he goes, I need you to come with me. We're gonna hurt some people. I can't tell you why. And the guy goes, which car are we gonna take? It was that type of thing. That's why I
Yeah.
love that movie. It's just so real. So it was like, hey, these guys, and a couple of slang words are thrown out, and I just was like, let's go. And I had two guns at the time. They used to call me Pedge Two Guns for a while because I would pull out two guns. So I had the two guns. I was like, let's go. Like get in the car. I was the first one. Pop my head out. Pop, 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 pop. I started shooting at the social club. So it was fun. Like back then, being a cowboy. But as you get like late 20s, early 30s, it's not that anymore. You got a reputation to uphold. When do you like back away from it? You don't. You either go 6 feet down or you go till the end. There's no
Yeah. During this time
questions.
you're coming up, is there a lot of your friends getting killed in the street and things like
Yeah,
that?
in the early 90s, was really a bad year. One year, I lost six friends to accident, like drag racing, crashed. One was on his bike, and they put like Francis Lewis Boulevard where they used to go racing and stuff. And it was like a big strip. Everybody would hang out, and cars would go up and down, and girls and guys and whatever. And, you pick up people and whatever. And they these neighbors, they threw some oil in the street, so they didn't want the cars going up and down or whatever. My friend was on his motorcycle, and he started going 110, popping wheelies, hit that oil slick, and he hit two poles and a tree. And when he hit the tree, his ribs went into his heart. Yeah, he was alive for, I don't know, like 45 seconds, a minute. By the time we got to run up, he's done. So that year was really bad. We put six people that we knew in the ground. And then with the Giannini crew running around in Ridgewood, a couple of guys that I knew got snuffed out with that. Like one, they killed this kid, and then they threw him in his own car, and they set the car on fire. So it's bad enough that he got killed. Now he's burnt to death too. Then there was another dude. He was screwing. Well, he wasn't screwing around. He was dating this girl that was with one of the guys from the Gianninis. This kid couldn't take no for an answer. Jealous. If I can't have her, nobody could have her. Turns around and pops the kid. Kid wasn't dead. They came. They poured gasoline on him. Kid was still alive. When they popped the trunk open, the kid was like, "Oh, don't do this." They're pouring the gasoline on him. They shoot him again and light him. So yeah, it just it is what it is.
Did anyone sit you down and like explain these rules to you? Like, don't touch a
No,
made
you learn them as
man.
you go along. No, you learn them as you go along. Basically, the first rule that I learned was you got to pay tax. Whatever you do, you got to show respect. So that was my first thing. Without anybody having to tell me like you have to go. I knew that if I was boosting cars, if I did say 5 cars at 5 a pop or whatever I got for them, I'd put whatever 2 grand in an envelope, 3. What I think they deserve, not like you being told X amount you got to give. First off, I'm only an associate. You know what I mean? Like I'm not a made guy. I could never be made. Yeah, I could have my own crew. I could be as like Joe Watts. Joe Watts was Gotti's, man, but he was not Italian. Could never get a button, could never be made in that family, but he was respected as like he was. So I knew how to show respect, and I did that, and they liked that. Non-Italian comes up and just goes, "Hey, I know who you are," and just hands an envelope. They thought I was like working for the cops and stuff, like like a mole. I was like, no. I said, you heard that I was robbing cars, and all right, you know what? Meet me here and here tomorrow. Like, we meet sort of some diner and we start talking. But what are you doing? But this, but that. Come work for me. And I got little odd jobs collecting, from the machines, from the Joker Pokers and the jukeboxes. I got a little of that here and there. And then, later on in life, when I was trying to put a little money myself on the street, I was working for Bobby Vernace, Bobby Glasses. So he was at that time so powerful. It was three people on the Gambino commission. It was Bobby Glasses. I don't know who the other guy was, and John Gotti. They would call the shots. Who gets clipped? Who gets what? It was that was the commission for the Gambinos. So I
How'd you
had
meet him?
Bobby.
How'd you meet him? And
I
what
got
was your
introduced.
first
Okay, like we
interaction
all
like?
we all knew who Bobby Glasses was. He had this little cafe in Glendale. Everybody knew him. He was the loan shark in the neighborhood. He made shit happen. He was a Gambino capo. Everybody knew by just word of mouth. So I would come with some people and go in hopes, sitting in front of the cafe, sipping on an espresso, in hopes of him coming out and acknowledging me. But I need to be introduced. There's no, hey, how you doing? And kiss his ass. That ain't gonna
Yeah.
happen. So it was this guy Vito, and Vito was his protege. And Vito knew me from the neighborhood. I was a good earner. I was doing crazy shit. And Vito was just like, "Hey, meet me by the cafe. I got a piece of work for you." It's like, "I meet him by the cafe." Everybody's like, "Wow, like what the hell's Pedge doing here?" We go in the back, and he goes, "I'm gonna introduce you." He goes, "Hey, Bobby, this is that friend of mine I was talking about." That's it. That's the introduction. Now I'm with them. Done. So when I heard that, I got all tingly. I was like, that's as close as getting made as you're ever gonna get. I was just like, yeah. And I say, how you doing? He shakes my hand. He goes, come in. Gives me a kiss. I gave him a kiss. He goes, so you're the guy doing this and this? I was like, yeah. He goes, you know those Romanian people over there? I was like, yeah. He goes, yeah, I got a little problem. He goes, I heard you put CDs in their jukebox. Yeah, I did. He goes, yeah, well, you know that incident that happened? And I'm like, yeah, I know the incident. And there was this incident where this Albanian guy came in and was drinking. And before I forget, so you remind me to get back to that story with Bobby. But this story is juicy. So this Albanian guy comes in. I see him. I kind of got beef with him, but I'm okay with him. When he gets a little drunk, he likes to irk me, likes to call me Chetnik, which is like means I like hate Muslims and whatever. So I was like, yeah, whatever. So I call him Balia, which is like a really derogatory term for any Muslim. So we joke back and forth. Then he calls me nephew, and then he calls me son-in-law. So he's with this other Romanian guy who's a schmuck. When he gets 3 beers in him, he's a troublemaker. So what he does is he's sitting there, they're getting drunk in a social club, comes to me, hey, this guy's talking shit about you. And now I know this guy's starting something. So I was like, do me a favor, go back by your table, leave it to me. Then the other guy comes, the Albanian guy, and says, hey, this guy is telling me that you're talking crap about me in the neighborhood. I said, come on, please, man. I'm like, this guy's trying to set me up, and now you're coming over. He goes, I know. He goes, don't worry about it. He goes to go back to the table, and this Romanian guy flings a bottle over his head and aims it at the owner and the waitress, and it just explodes on the wall. Now, the biggest mistake he made was the girl who's behind the counter is the sister of Bobby Vernace's Gumar, the sister. So the girl he's got on the side is this girl. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
you shouldn't have did that. Now I see this and instinct tells me get out of Dodge. I go for the door, like I'm trying to like pay my bill, and I'm like, yeah, can I just keep the change, and I'm trying to. Now this guy goes, I didn't do that. Pedge saw that I didn't do anything. They're involving me, so now they're stalling me, and I'm trying to explain no, and I'm telling the lady Nadia, whatever you do, don't call Vito, please. Vito's at the door already. He was like split second. Vito opens the door and he's got like 6 hoods with him, and before I could say anything, he looks at me and he goes, Pedge, Who broke the bottle? So now what do I do? You know, I'm in this like bad predicament. So I'm like, I was like, listen, it wasn't him. It was that guy. This guy, the guy who threw the bottle, runs out there, Romanian guy. I don't know how he gets past these people, slipping in the snow, runs to his Mercedes. This guy's like, and he starts to push Vito and whatever. Long story short, we get outside. This guy's telling me in Serbian,